Coming up today, good health means good sleep. We explore what's keeping so many of us from achieving that. Good morning, I'm Alexis Del Cid. Welcome to the Morning Medical Update. How well do you sleep? Can you fall asleep as soon as your head hits the pillow? Do you toss and turn? In the morning, do you wake up feeling refreshed and rested, or do you feel like you're walking through quicksand? Does springing forward and losing that hour of sleep send you into a tailspin? If you have trouble with any of those things, today's episode is for you. We are talking about sleep medicine with sleep experts and the most common barriers to you getting a good night's sleep. We are so pleased to have Dr. Saurav Luthra joining us via webcam. We're also hoping to get Dr. Nancy Stewart in the studio in a little bit. We have our fingers crossed for that. Dr. Luthra is a sleep medicine specialist here at the University of Kansas Health System. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Dr. Stewart was recently interviewed on KMBZ's Dana and Parks. The radio show devoted a couple of different episodes to sleep problems. So let's listen to a few of the issues mentioned on that show.
Thanks for listening to the Dana and Parks podcast.
Let's go to Caroline in Olathe. Hello.
Hi.
Hi there.
This so resonated with so many people. They were calling in, they were texting in saying, oh, I haven't slept in years.
Listeners shared what worked for them, everything from supplements to medications.
She'll sleep 8 to 10 hours, and she's in a way better mood in the morning.
So I went to my doctor, and I told her about the problems I was having, and she prescribed a medication for me. It's non-habit forming, and I fall asleep like a baby, and I stay asleep.
There's an old boy that keeps talking about the vitamin supplement. I think it's calcium, magnesium that does such a wonderful job in getting you to sleep. I haven't heard anybody mention that yet.
Dana opened up about her own struggles.
I would do all the things they say to do. I drank warm tea and I couldn't get to sleep, and I certainly couldn't stay asleep.
She shared what worked for her.
Like a lot of Americans, every time you turn on the TV, they're trying to get you to buy something or get something prescribed for sleep, and I started taking ZzzQuil. It's basically NyQuil without the medicine component that is in NyQuil. It's just called ZzzQuil, and it tastes good.
Since that January show, Dana has slowly tapered off that medicine and worked on her sleep hygiene. She also cut out Diet Coke.
About a month ago, I took my last ZzzQuil, and I have not taken it since. It's still in my medicine cabinet, but I have not taken it since.
Dr. Luthra, I got to ask you, before we get to the bulk of the discussion, how did you do with the time change? Do you sleep well, or does it throw you into a tailspin?
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It did throw me in a little bit of a tailspin. I got 1 hour less sleep. I was prepping for it, but again, with routine work schedule, you really cannot sleep an hour earlier when you want to. So yeah, I was a bit more tired that morning, but I still went for my workout, and I just stayed out, got a lot of sun, and feeling a little better now.
You just powered through it. Well, it's good to know even the sleep specialists struggle with this.
Yes.
So you heard so many people saying they use supplements or they take medicine to sleep, like melatonin, magnesium, Ambien, ZzzQuil. So does it make sense to try those things, or are there any people who shouldn't be trying them?
So I think all of these meds, they work to a certain extent, and they work in specific situations. I think the problem arises when a lot of people will take them without understanding what each one of them is possibly doing. So for example, melatonin is more helpful for jet lag or shift work disorder. And when you use it in that context, it is much more helpful. Similarly, if you're talking about ZzzQuil, it has an antihistamine component, which once in a while, if you take it, it can make you a bit more groggy. So if you're just not feeling tired or your mind is racing, you just want to take one, it might be fine, but then it cannot work as a chronic sleep aid, because we always have to look at the underlying sleep situation and what is causing the insomnia. And all of them have certain degree of side effects. Even with magnesium, it can help you relax a little bit, but if you have bigger problems that are not letting you sleep, it won't be very effective. And some of it is placebo because you know something works and you take it and your mind calms down and it can help you sleep. So a lot of it, especially with over-the-counter medication, could be a placebo effect.
Can you build up tolerance to those things, like melatonin, for example?
So melatonin, you can build up tolerance. The other thing with melatonin is the over-the-counter dosing is quite big, and the companies want to put as much compound as FDA would allow them to put in it because they want consumers to take it and feel like it worked wonders. But you can take too much of melatonin, which will leave you with a sort of a grogginess and hangover type feeling. And over a period of time, you may find that it's not working. And it can actually, when you take a big dose, suppress your internal melatonin secretion. And that can actually lead to bigger sleep problems.
When we talk about sleep hygiene, what we really mean is good sleep habits, right? So the basics of good sleep habits include a nighttime routine, consistent times for waking up and going to bed, a dark, quiet environment, 1 hour away from electronics before your head hits the pillow, avoiding fatty meals before bed, less stress, more exercise, less caffeine. That's a long list of a lot of things that a lot of people do. Dr. Luthra, can most sleep problems, though, be solved with good sleep hygiene?
So I think about good sleep hygiene as exercising. As we think about a better lifestyle, as we are focusing in medicine on longevity, these good sleep habits should be your lifestyle. And then they'll help your sleep tremendously, but they'll not take care of every medical sleep problem. So if you have underlying sleep apnea, restless legs, circadian rhythm disorder, hypersomnias, then you would need to seek and see a sleep medicine person. But just like, when we exercise, when we eat better, we follow good sleep hygiene, we are overall doing better in our health and sleeping better. And it can take care of a lot of sleep issues, but not all of them.
You mentioned hypersomnia. Can you explain to our viewers, what is hypersomnia?
So hypersomnia is something which is underappreciated in society, I feel, because in hypersomnia, patients are actually sleeping okay. They are sleeping enough, or they are sleeping more than enough, but they are still not feeling rested. They don't have energy during the day. They can take naps easily, and it can also become a dangerous situation if you're driving or doing something that requires hyperacute focus, and you cannot maintain that. That could be a dangerous work situation. So it's your brain needing more amount of sleep than a usual amount, which would be 7 to 8 hours.
And how do you treat hypersomnia?
So we'll need to evaluate what type of hypersomnia one has. But basically, the treatment involves medications where we try to either suppress the sleep-creating hormones in the body, or we give them medications that promote wakefulness during the daytime.
So when it comes to consistency, we hear you've got to be consistent with when you go to bed and when you wake up. But so many people have a different schedule on the weekends than they have during the weekday. What does your basic weekend inconsistency, or those 2 days off you have, do to the rest of your sleep hygiene?
So I tell patients that typically on weekends, try not to change your schedule by more than 1 to 2 hours. There is some elasticity in our system, so we can tolerate 1 or 2 hours of change over the weekend and still bounce back to a regular schedule. But if we go beyond that, let's say we are a 10 p.m. sleeper and one weekend we are up till 2 a.m., this will then have a downstream impact on your coming week. And you'll take a longer time to bounce back to a consistent schedule after that, because it affects the timing of your melatonin secretion in the brain.
When we talk about daylight saving time, there are two camps: people who like it, people who hate it. I've never found anyone who is ambivalent about daylight saving time. So if you could wave a magic wand and keep it or do away with it, what would you do?
I would do away with it. Permanent standard time, the time we have in winters, studies have shown that it aligns a lot better with our natural circadian rhythm. And so there is data behind keeping the permanent standard time as our only time, because it prevents us from having a lot of issues when we change to daylight savings, like we have darker mornings, which is not conducive for our brain to wake up. We do gain a little bit extra light in the evening, but that does not help with our internal rhythms. So if it were up to me, I'll keep the permanent standard time.
I always wonder if people in Arizona are healthier, sleep-wise, because they never change. They're the ones on that standard time. It would be interesting to see long-term. So one of the sleep hygiene tips was to avoid fatty meals. Does that mean avoid fatty meals right before bedtime, or a fatty snack? What does something fatty have to do with how you sleep?
So I think, avoiding any heavy meal is probably a better term. Avoid any heavy meal 2 or 3 hours before the bed. You want your GI system to settle down. Taking a heavy fatty meal will get your GI system to work, your gastrointestinal system. There will be a release of acid and secretions that can increase night burn. Fatty meal in particular can also lower the tone of your esophageal sphincter, the food pipes opening into the stomach. So that also increases the chances of you getting heartburn and cause more discomfort to you at nighttime. It can cause bloating. So you just want your gastrointestinal system to calm down. So my advice is 2 or 3 hours before bedtime, no heavy meal.
What about an hour away from electronics before bed? I ask this because my husband loves to scroll on his phone right before bed. What is it about that screen time that could be hurting his sleep, or people watching who like to do that, their sleep?
Yeah, so there are many angles to that too. One would be the light, and especially the blue spectrum of light entering eyes an hour or two before bed can suppress your internal melatonin secretion, so you won't feel sleepy as easily. But also it is distracting. I mean, if you think of what you see when you are scrolling, it will get your mind thinking, and you don't want that kind of psychological stimulation right before bedtime. What you're hoping for is that your mind calms down, you put the glass down. I would recommend keep the phone away. So if you are thinking and you have a habit of grabbing it all the time, you cannot reach it. Just put it somewhere away an hour before bedtime and just relax and try to go to sleep.
Would that be the same for reading magazines or a disturbing book or something of that nature? Or is there something about the scrolling that really triggers people and disrupts their relaxation?
Yeah, I think, if you think about how social media companies have designed these reels, they learn your behaviors, they know what you're interested in. So that media feed is always giving you stuff which is getting your mind attached to that. You are having surge of dopamine, other neurostimulatory hormones, which you don't want during sleep time. It would also lead to an addiction if you're doing that every night and your brain expects that kind of stimulation around bedtime. Then it can also become sort of an addiction where you want to do that every time. So yes, I think scrolling has a especially bad effect on sleep. I think reading magazines, reading something which is calm, you don't want to read a thriller novel right before bedtime that keeps your mind guessing. But reading something calm, something relaxing without having too much light coming to your eyes is fine. You can do that.
More people are starting to wear smartwatches. I just got a smartwatch myself, so I'm constantly, I wake up, grab my phone, I press the little heart icon, and I try to see how much I've slept, what kind of sleep I've gotten. In addition to tracking how many hours of sleep you get, is there valuable information on your smartwatch when you do the sleep tracker that people can gather?
I think, yes, I think especially if you feel like you are not getting enough sleep and you're trying to get into a good sleep hygiene, is really helpful, because you cannot always track, okay, what time I went to bed, when I woke up, how many hours I actually slept. So I think while in the phase of improving your sleep overall, it can really be helpful, gives you important feedback that yes, you are now sleeping, 7 hours, you used to sleep 5. But if you get into a rhythm where you have a consistent routine, you are sleeping 7 to 8 hours, you don't need to wear a watch, because I also feel like they add some discomfort to your wrist. There could be some light, some notifications coming on, so it could be disruptive. But I think if you just want to use it to get yourself to the right amount of sleep, then they are helpful.
One of the they have some categories where they break it down of what kind of sleep that you get. And I recently asked you about this. You can track your deep sleep or your REM sleep or just your basic sleep. Does it matter if you're getting less in the deep sleep or less in the REM? Do those categories matter just as much as how many hours of basic sleep you're getting?
Yeah, they do matter. I think, and different companies use different algorithms to calculate your deep sleep. Some include the slow wave or the stage 3 sleep plus the REM sleep, and they call it the deep sleep. Some keep it separate, REM separate. So whatever that is. But yes, I think if you get the healthy amount of deep/REM sleep, it is good for your mental and your brain's psychological recovery. Because this is where all the memories are being consolidated, especially your emotional memory happens in REM sleep. This is also where a lot of toxic proteins get cleared up from the brain. So there is a concept that if those are not cleared up for a long period of time, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's can happen more in patients with sleep deprivation. So it does help, and I think different companies track it differently, but you should have a healthy amount of deep sleep.
I've heard those described as the brain's way of washing out toxins is when you're dreaming or getting that really deep sleep. I know that people have a lot of questions about sleep. So if you're watching and you'd like to share a comment or you have a question for Dr. Luthra, just use the chat on YouTube or Facebook, or you can email the Medical News Network. All that information is right there on your screen. And if you're not sleeping well and you're watching this and feeling groggy, you're in really good company, because sleephealth.org reports 50 to 70 million Americans have sleep disorders. 1 in 3 adults don't regularly get the recommended amount of sleep to protect their health. 1 out of 3. Dr. Luthra, have you seen an increase in people with sleep disorders over the course of your career?
I think sleep disorders have always existed. Definitely over the last 10 years since I've been practicing in medicine and then in sleep, there has been an increase with the tech getting closer to our bedtimes, smartphones, social media companies using your behavior patterns, your interests to provide you the reels and the shorts. That has definitely, I think, eroded a good amount of sleep hygiene. But also, I think I also see an increased uptake in sleep patients because there's more awareness. We've also noticed that in the last couple of years, health influencers, people who talk about longevity, overall health, or your athletes that you might idolize, they're all talking about sleep a lot more because they're all understanding that sleep is a vital part of your recovery, and that, I think, has also put a greater impetus on sleep, and now people want to improve their sleep.
That's super interesting, because my dad has Alzheimer's, and ever since then, my family and I have really taken a deep dive into brain health. And I recently heard sleep described as, you should view sleep as an activity, just like you view exercise. Exercise and sleep are 2 important activities, and I think I'd never viewed sleep as an activity before, but that's what I hear you saying as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, you're tracking your steps. You want to get 10,000 steps. You want to track your sleep, get to your 7 hours of healthy sleep, maybe 30% or so, 30 to 40% of deep plus REM sleep if you can achieve that. And so it's become that kind of a tracking mechanism for your overall health. Just like you track your steps, your calories, your heart rate variability, you want to track your sleep, because all of this contributes to better health in later years.
There are people who have perfect sleep hygiene. I don't know who they are, but they have perfect sleep hygiene. And even some people who keep perfect sleep hygiene still have disorders like sleep apnea, insomnia, narcolepsy. If someone watching is concerned that they have a sleep disorder, how do they reach out to a sleep specialist, and what does that look like?
So you can reach out to us directly, but I would recommend talk to your primary care doctors. If you have any sleep disorders, they are very simple testing that every primary care physician can order for you, starting with as simple as a home sleep apnea test, where you don't have to spend any time in a sleep lab. You basically get a very simple kit that has a pulse meter, something on your wrist, and a chest band to monitor your breathing, and that's it. You get a study done that rules out a number of sleep disorders, and then if there is something beyond that, the study comes back normal, but you are still struggling, then you can ask your primary care doctors to refer you to us in sleep medicine.
It won't surprise you, Dr. Luthra, that we have plenty of questions coming in from our viewers because sleep is such an important topic. So let's get right into this. Stu, who is just waking up, wants to know, is 10 milligrams too much to take regularly of melatonin? This is actually a question we've gotten from a couple different people. 10 milligrams.
Yeah, I think 10 is too much. I think start low with melatonin. I tell patients to start with maybe 2 or 3 milligrams, go up to 5, but really beyond 6, there's not much data that beyond 6 milligram is more helpful. But I feel like that actually can lead to more side effects like hangover, grogginess in the morning. So I would say somewhere between 3 and 5 is probably an ideal dose.
Gene has a great question. He wants to know, are 20-minute power naps better than longer naps so they don't interfere with your nighttime sleep?
Yeah, I think naps under 30 minutes, so 20 minutes sounds perfect, can be really helpful. If you are feeling tired, I prefer that over drinking caffeine, especially in the afternoon time. Instead of drinking caffeine, if you can take a 20-minute power nap, that's healthier for your system. But then also focus on why are you needing that power nap. If this is a consistent habit, also evaluate, are you getting enough sleep at nighttime, and if that sleep is restful.
Jeremy wants to know, well, he writes, I always feel like I wake up feeling like sludge. That's a great description, Jeremy. But the idea of doing a sleep study to dig more into this makes me think of missing days of work or people with clipboards in a facility watching me sleep. What's it really like?
Yeah, so like I just mentioned, home sleep apnea study could be a great start for him. Just talk to your primary care doctor. They'll put an order to a sleep lab. The lab will call you in a week or two. They are covered by insurance. Most insurance plans will cover you a home sleep study. And you just basically pick up a kit from the lab, take it home, sleep with it for one single night, remove the kit in the morning, send it back to the lab. You get your results in about 1 to 2 weeks, and you don't have to be in any lab and be around any person with a clipboard.
I have a question about dreams.
Yes.
I noticed that I went through this phase where I liked eating chips and salsa right before bed. Don't judge me. I just really would do that when I'd come home from work, when I worked a night shift. But I noticed I would have the weirdest, most trippy dreams when I'd have spicy salsa before bed, like Fantasia. Yeah. It was like I was in a cartoon. What causes that?
So we don't know exactly, but I think if your GI system is working and it's creating different type of sensations in the body that can affect your neurotransmitters, can lead your subconscious to believe certain things and can lead into that type of dreaming. But there's no straightforward scientific explanation for that. Dreams are just manifestation of your subconscious. They are never. They can always be connected with something going on or has happened to you. But there's no straightforward scientific reasoning behind that.
What's that?
There's no scientific reasoning behind what type of dream we will get with food.
Karen wants to know, she writes, I don't remember my dreams. Does that mean I'm not dreaming?
Possibly. There are two types of dreams that happen in rapid eye movement sleep. If you do not have enough REM, you will not have dreams that you would recall easily. Some dreams happen in the non-REM sleep, but they are not as much as the REM. And those dreams, even if they're happening, we don't recall. But in general, if you're feeling tired and you're not remembering your dreams, then it could be because you're not getting enough REM sleep, and there may be a sleep disorder behind that.
Denise has a question about lights right before you go to bed. She wants to know if her Kindle is disrupting her relaxation as much as the light from a phone would.
Yeah, I would say a lot less with Kindle. I would prefer people use Kindle over tablets or phone because the light emission is a lot less from a Kindle's e-reader type of screen.
And then that leads me to a question. My friend Caroline set my phone to go to a red light setting after a certain hour. Can I get away with looking at my phone if I'm not scrolling Twitter, if it's on the red light setting?
Yeah, you do get less blue light with those adjustments on the screen. But any light is not great, so blue light is particularly bad. So it's better to keep it on that setting in the evening hours. You should actually adjust it so as the day goes down, it automatically adjusts to warmer tones. But still an hour before bed, if you could just avoid that, would be better.
Joellen McGranahan has a question for you, Dr. Luthra. If you could only do one thing to improve sleep, what would that be? If you had to pick the most important thing.
Bedtime, consistent bedtime. If I could only pick one thing, would be going to bed the same time, and it may differ for every individual. Some people, depending upon their work schedule, might want to go to bed at 11. Some might want to go to bed at 9:30, depending upon how your body works and what your work schedule is. If you pick one consistent bedtime and just stick to that, I think that would be the simplest thing.
Stuart wants to know, does extra sleep end up making you more tired? Man, I would say no. I feel like Superwoman when I get more sleep. But what's your professional, your medical take?
So it depends upon your requirements. See, every individual's sleep requirement is different in the population. We are like on this bell-shaped curve. So there are people, majority of them, they require 7 to 9 hours of sleep. On different edges, one can require 6 hours, one can require 8 to 9 hours. So if a 6-hour person sleeps 8 to 9 hours, they may feel more tired. But if your requirement is 8 and you're getting 6 and you get a couple of extra hours one morning, you will feel a lot more rested. But in general, I think I say don't sleep more than 9 hours. Don't spend more than 8 to 9 hours in bed because it's typically not helpful after that time. And if you are needing that, then there is some hypersomnia condition.
Okay. Gretchen would like to know, what does it mean when you're a short sleeper? I heard Margaret Thatcher was a short sleeper, and it's some sort of sleep disorder.
Yeah.
Is that?
So short sleeper is actually not a sleep disorder. Short sleeper, when we use the term, we mean that somebody's sleep requirement can be shorter and they don't need to sleep longer than that, and they're still fully rested and functional. So there was a study conducted on a family not too far from us in US that only required 4 hours of sleep. And multiple family members in that family will sleep 4 hours and were fully functional after that. And they were all high functioning employed people. So they did a study, they studied their genome, and they found a gene that all of them had, which gave them that short sleep type of capability. So almost like a superpower. But yeah, that's what we mean when we say short sleepers.
What a great gene. They must feel, that must be amazing to not have to worry about getting the 8 hours of sleep. You only need 4. Jean wants to know, this is good. Jean Reardon says, is any sleep position better than another for good sleep?
In majority of people, side sleep is better with regards to your breathing compared to the back or the sleeping on the tummy or sleeping on your stomach.
Interesting. And one more question from Jim. Jim wants to know if there's a specific temperature that is better to sleep at.
Cooler temperatures are better for your cortisol secretion and nighttime hormonal secretion. So I would say more like 66 to 68. Don't keep it warmer than 68 at nighttime.
Okay. So a cool room, pitch black, no lights. For today's takeaways, Dr. Luthra, what do you want people to know who are watching? Because so many people have anxiety when you start talking about sleep.
So I want people to understand that sleep is one of the most powerful things that you already have, that you are probably underutilizing for your health. We focus so much on eating healthier, taking our cholesterol medications, steps. Similarly, you have sleep, which is just available to you. Just follow a good sleep hygiene. Think of sleep as something that can improve your brain health, your immune health, improve your metabolism, and improve your mental well-being. So use sleep in that context. Use sleep as something that is freely available, no medications needed, and just don't underappreciate sleep. And then if you sleep better, you are going to have a better health, sharper thinking, and a happier life overall.
Dr. Luthra, thanks for taking the time to join us this morning. We really appreciate your expertise and your insight. And thank you so much to our viewers for being with us today. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Coming up tomorrow on the Morning Medical Update, her dad, her uncle, then herself. When Lori Chavez learned they all three shared the same cancer diagnosis, she wondered what it would mean for her kids. I'm Jessica Lovell on the next Morning Medical Update. We explore Lynch syndrome, where symptoms don't appear until cancer develops. The importance of understanding your genes, plus the research that could prevent cancer spreading with a vaccine. Tuesday at 8.
Subscribe to our Morning Medical Update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.